What's up, guys? So Last Epoch has been out now for about a week, and it's getting some pretty mixed reviews on Steam. Most of the most recent reviews are pretty negative. Should you be concerned about these negative reviews? Well, the short answer is no, not really. The longer answer, we'll jump into the video because I think it's a bit more nuanced, but we'll go into that in the video. So let's jump into it. Let me preface this video by saying I know some of what I'm going to say is probably going to make some people angry. There's an unfortunate trend on the internet where things either need to be the best thing ever or a literal steaming pile of garbage. No in between, no gray, just black or white. Not to use the same adjective again, but this really is unfortunate because I believe there's nuance in everything. Take peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, for example. Are they the best sandwich ever? Not in my opinion, no. They aren't winning any awards for originality, but they're a pretty solidly decent sandwich. Now replace the PB&J with a game like Diablo 4, and I said, Diablo 4 is a decent game. It's not horrible, but it's not really that great either. I'd be called a corporate shill, a brain-dead moron, a Blizzard fanboy, etc. So if you were one of those people who left the game a negative review, my intention with this video is not to downplay your feelings. You paid money for a product that, in its current state, is not playable, so your feelings are justified. My intention is also not to change your mind on your bad review. Do I think the game is literally unplayable? No, but perception is reality, and if you perceive that to be true, then it's true for you. Most of you that watch my content probably know what Last Epoch is, since the majority of you came from my Diablo 4 content or my Path of Exile content. But just in case you're new here and or you've never heard of Last Epoch, we'll go over a brief summary of what Last Epoch is and why people are angry about it. Last Epoch is the newest addition to the ARPG genre. In case you don't know what an ARPG is, I think Wikipedia does a pretty good job summing it up. An ARPG emphasizes real-time combat where the player has direct control over the characters as opposed to turn or menu-based combat, while still having a focus on character stats in order to determine relative strength and abilities. Diablo 2, albeit not the first ARPG, is the grandfather of modern ARPGs, and it's the one that set the tone and the pace for what is to be expected and wanted from the genre. As most of us know, ARPGs are very grindy and time-consuming games. You will spend some amount of time going through the early part or story part of the game, but the majority of the game is spent in the end game, where most players would agree is when the fun starts. You will spend hours trying to minimize your character's weaknesses while maximizing their strengths, looking for stat upgrades, and or chase uniques that will really make your build shine. So why am I going into the lore of ARPGs in a video about the bad reviews in Last Epoch? To understand the bad and even the good reviews, you need to juxtapose this with this information in mind. Most ARPGs are grindy by nature, so the players of these games are going to have their favorites and they're going to have significant time investment into their chosen game. Because of this, 11th Hour made enemies and allies right out of the gate. The best way to think about this is to compare this to other genres. You're either a League of Legends player or you're a Dota 2 player. You're either a Magic the Gathering player or a Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Hearthstone player. You're either a Warzone player or a Valorant player. You get the idea. Sure, you might dabble in the other games, but you're going to have one that you prefer over the others for one reason or the other. And because of this, the time investment that's required in most of these games, unless you're a professional content creator or someone who has no other responsibilities like a child, there simply isn't enough time to devote to multiple of these types of titles. Most of the people who would be playing Last Epoch on launch most likely had another ARPG that they were grinding prior to the launch of Last Epoch. Except for a handful of players that maybe had a friend recommend it or got the game recommended on Steam, I would say this is largely true for most people. Because of this, players are going into the game with expectations or wants for what the game should be and their opinion. They are either looking to replace or play alongside their current ARPG when they get bored of the current league or season. Or, in my case, where I fully dismantled a functioning PoE build because I was bored, only to try to make my own build and then completely brick both. But hey, that's a story for another day. If you look at the majority of the good reviews on Last Epoch, most of them are just citing the things that they don't like about the other ARPGs, and Last Epoch isn't those things, so Last Epoch good. You can obviously see this flaw in this logic. I believe a game should be determined to be good or bad based solely on its own merit, not how it compares to other games in the genre, even a genre as archetypal and defined as ARPGs are. The majority of the negative views, conversely, are problems with the launch of the game and a few peppered in about the microtransactions that they added into the game. The unfortunate state of gaming in 2024 is that, hey, at least the game launched in a mostly playable state, while the same can't be said for other titles. Look at the day before, whose launch was so horrendous that the studio shut down a week later because of rampant bugs and just straight up false advertisement. Or on the flip side, look at Cyberpunk 2077 that had such a terrible launch that people were still roasting it years later, even though the game was great once they fixed it. Most games launch with a day one patch. It's just the way things are now. Games launch broken or buggy. Gone are the days where studios release mostly working and complete titles. Maybe it's pressure from the stockholders. Maybe it's pressure from the community in the example of Cyberpunk 2077. Maybe it's game studios taking advantage of early access and essentially using all of us, the consumers, as their beta testers. But that's a subject for another video. So if you're going to play a game on launch, just prepare to be disappointed. Whether it be Last Epoch or really any game you're going to play on launch, it's most likely going to be buggy and broken, and there's going to be problems with it. It's just how things are now. It's unfortunate, but barring all of us rising up and refusing to buy video games anymore, which I don't see ever happening, it's just how things are going to be. With the rare exception of Baldur's Gate 3, Larian, God bless their souls, I cannot remember a game that launched in a complete and functional state in recent history. If you guys know of any, let me know in the comments section. So, in short, I think it's too early to say whether Last Epoch is bad, good, or even just okay. The launch problems are just that, launch problems. If you're concerned about the connectivity issues, that doesn't mean don't play the game ever. It means maybe wait a week or two until 11th Hour fixes the issues and then play. Conversely, the good reviews just praising Last Epoch because it's different from Path of Exile, Grim Dawn, or Diablo 4. It's also just that, a taste of something new. Maybe let the shiny new thing syndrome wear off before jumping on the game if that's your inclination. Give people time to digest and experience the content before lending credence to the knee-jerk upvotes of people who just don't like other ARPGs in the space. Give 11th Hour time to fix and adjust the game before giving any serious consideration to the downvotes. So the long answer is yes, you should be concerned with the negative reviews if the game stays in its current state. But I don't believe the game will stay in its current state. Keep in mind, this is their first game ever, and it's a game that's only $35. I have higher expectations and standards for a AAA company that has thousands of employees and years of experience in the industry, and it being a $70 game opposed to a small indie studio that it is their first game ever. So give grace where grace is due. 11th Hour has already addressed some of the concerns that players are having, and they are showing to be receptive to feedback. In my opinion, I think Last Epoch has a great foundation. It just has some kinks to work out. Keep in mind, PoE was not in the state that it's in now when the game first released, but the game is fantastic now. It took Diablo 3, 10 years before it was any good? I think, given time, 11th Hour will make this game great, and it will be on the same playing field as other established ARPGs in the space. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing, as it does really help with the YouTube algorithm. I make bi-weekly content about various gaming topics, gaming news, and game reviews. Until next time, have a great day/night.